Dear students, in this video session, we will study about the implications of integrated water resource management on other sectors, or it can also be said as the sectors which are benefited by the integrated water resource management. So in this we mainly come across 4 different sectors who are benefited with the integrated water resource management process. The first one is water supply and sanitation, second one is irrigation and drainage, third one is energy, and the last one is environment. So as we all know that integrated water resource management is mainly done in order to provide the proper water facilities for each and every individual. So there is an involvement of different sectors who are making use of the water, say for example the agriculture, the industries, domestic use and many other uses where we are concerned about the electricity generation or the power generation, where we also depend upon the water resources. So when we go for the integrated water resource management, so these are the sectors who must be benefited if we take any action in proper monitoring, managing the water resources. So with this aspect, so this is the concept where we will be studying about the benefits which are taken by the different sectors by integrated water resource management technique. So the first sector is water supply and sanitation. So for a people to live in a society or in a particular watershed, they should have the proper water supply as well as the sanitation facilities. So sanitation is proper drainage facilities where the wastewater should be properly maintained or it has to be properly disposed. Even though this problem is there in a particular area, then the quality of life of the people will not be good. So in order to maintain the good quality of life, the proper water supply as well as the sanitation facility has to be provided. So with this integrated water resource management, we can achieve this proper water supply and sanitation facility for a particular watershed. So in this first one is emphasis on ensuring that the poor are served. So as I told you in the earlier lectures, so it is been seen that the people living at the higher level or the rich people are given more importance in enjoying all the water rights, whereas the poor people are away from this water rights. So this mainly gives integrated water resource management gives the equal opportunity for both the poor and the rich people in making use of the water supply in a proper manner. Second one is commercial viability and utilities. So the proper utilities or the proper usage of the water will be done by each and every individual where the proper water supply will be provided. Third one is separation of provider and regulators. So there are certain people, that is the involvement of the private sectors, where certain group of people are taking care of the proper water supply and certain group of people are taking care of the regulations which are to be followed by the people who are making use of the water. So there is a separation in this integrated water resource management where the work is allocated for a provider or the person who is looking into the proper water supply and the other who is making use of the rules and regulations and they are monitoring the same. Fourth one is increasing role of the private sector through a variety of methods ranging from management contracts to full privatization, where in some of the regions when the government agencies are not properly taking care of the people living in a particular area, there are some of the private agencies or the private sector involvement who are adopting the new techniques and they are mainly concerned in the managing of the proper water resources, where they are being called as the contractors who will be taking care of the particular area. Fifth one is working with independent small scale water providers and scaling up their involvement. So there are some of the independent providers or the person who are looking into the water facilities where at a small scale they are providing the water and their involvement is also included in this integrated water resource management. The next sixth one is developing approaches which distinguish between large cities and small towns. Say for example, when we look into this approaches, there are many different ways through which we can provide the water for people living in the cities as well as people living in the towns. So through different approaches, through different ideas, we can go with the water providing facilities for the people who are living in the cities as well as the people living in small towns. Seventh one is building on the emerging ideas on output based aid. So in this, we need to adopt the new ideas where the output should be very good. So based on the new ideas, we should go with the emerging trend so that the proper water facility will be provided. Next, eighth one is emphasis on transparency of process and legal and institutional framework. So there must be a transparency in giving the rules and regulations, or in following the rules and regulations for both the poor and the rich people, where there is a continuous monitoring of this by a particular group of people who are taking care of the transparencies which are mainly maintained in the process of integrated water resource management, and the legal institutions and the framework are to be done. Ninth one is capacity building for regulators. So at a different level, we need to check with the regulators where they are implementing the different rules, and the capacity building will be done. 10th is growing emphasis on sanitation and sewerage. So mainly we need to check about the sanitation facility as well as the sewage treatment, in which we can minimize the use of the water as well as we can provide the safe and pure drinking water facility for the people living in a particular area. So these are all some of the benefits which are being done when we go for the integrated water resource management by considering the water supply and sanitation. So these are some of the benefits which we get in the field of water supply and sanitation if we implement the integrated water resource management in a particular area. So coming with the second one, that is the second sector, irrigation and drainage. As we all know that most of the water is wasted in the agricultural and irrigational activities. So if we make use of the integrated water resource management planning techniques and development activities in the irrigation and agricultural activities, we get benefited by this process also in the field of agriculture and irrigation. So first one is emphasis on great physical and economic productivity of water. As I have told you, the water is also used as a economic good, where we are getting certain amount by this water resources. When there is a scarcity of water, we will pay for the water and we will make use of the water, where the economy will be increased. So the great physical and economic productivity of the water has to be checked properly. The second one is greater attention to basin wide rather than farm level efficiency. So the attention is given to a particular basin or a area instead of giving attention to the farm level efficiency is properly done, so that the water facility can be easily provided for different sectors for a particular basin. Third is adversing the perverse effect of subsidies for pumping groundwater. Means the farmers are getting many different subsidies from the government, where even the subsidy is given for pumping the groundwater. Means when they are interested in drilling the wells at their own farmland, the effects of this subsidies are given, or the awareness of this will be given for this irrigation and drainage activities. Fourth is linking irrigation reform with broader development strategies with attention to the political economy of reform. So that is, the different reforms which are provided in the field of irrigation are getting developed by the different strategies, where the attention is paid for both the political and the economic reforms, so that the different strategies are to be followed by the irrigation system also. Next is linking irrigation reform with broader water resource management approaches with increasing attention to water allocation and water rights issued. So water is not only one's right, it is all the person's right. So in this regard, if we think, the irrigation reforms should be in such a way that the broader water resource management approaches and the water allocations and water right issues are to be properly checked, and they are normally looked after by the agencies, so that the water will be equally provided to all the person who are involved in the agricultural activities. Sixth is strengthening emphasis on greater productivity from existing investments with attention to improve efficiency and conservation. That is, once the project is involved, they must be efficient enough to work for the longer duration of time. So the proper attention is given towards the efficiency and also the conservation of the water resources. Seventh is upscaling user involvement through water users association and improved accountability system based on successful global test practice, where the involvement of the water users association. So there are certain associations at a regional level or local level where they are mainly involved in the legal activities which are to be carried out by a person, and they will be looking after the different practices which are implemented by the local people. Eighth is improving regulatory frameworks, financial viability, and improved performance through benchmarking, competition, and greater involvement of the private sectors. So in this agricultural or the irrigational activities, there are certain regulations where certain frameworks are done at the different levels. Even in this, the financial aspect is also included, where we can improve the performance when we are constructing the benchmarking, and we can go for the water resource management through the private sectoral involvement. Ninth is increasing emphasis on salinity, water logging, drainage, and water quality management in irrigation. So the proper care is also taken towards the salinity problem, where the proper water supply should be provided, where the irrigation activities are to be carried out. Water logging is also looked after, where the proper drainage facilities are provided in order to maintain the water quality as well as the quantity for the irrigational activities. So these are all some of the points which mainly tells about the benefits which we get in the field of irrigation and drainage if we go with the proper integrated water resource management. The next sector is energy. So as I have told you, the power generation or the energy generation is also carried out through this water resources. So here, reaching the poor with electricity services. So in this field, when we generate the electricity through the water, the energy can be easily supplied to the people, or the electricity will be supplied to the poor section of the people. Second is stimulating competition among energy suppliers. So as there is a huge requirement of energy resources for people living in a particular area, this water resource management or the making use of the water as a raw material for the generation of electricity, we can also overcome the existing requirement of the energies. Third is commercial pricing and enterprise viability. So there are fixing some of the commercial revenues. For example, the electricity which the people are taking towards the farmland, they are getting the subsidies where it is properly maintained. Fourth is expanded private sector participation. So in checking all these facilities, the private sector participation is also expanded to certain level. Fifth is mitigation risk beyond the control of private investors, and private risk ensures in energy supplies. So beyond the control of the private sector, we are taking care of the risk, and the private risk ensure in energy supplies. So they are also private sectors taking the risk in providing the energy supply to the people living in a particular area. Sixth is developing and strengthening objective transparent regulation. So here there is a equal opportunity and the rights given for the person living in a particular area to make use of the energy sources, where equal regulation is also maintained among the people of a particular area. Seventh is spreading the lessons of reform from early reformers. So getting the knowledge from the early reforming system is also employed in this energy generation, through which we can conserve the water. Eighth is reducing the carbon dioxide emission intensity. So we can reduce the intensity of the carbon dioxide emission through this water resource management, or if we make use of the water as a source of generation of energy, we can minimize the carbon dioxide emission in the environment. So these are all some of the points which explain about the sector, that is the energy sector, which is benefited once we go with the integrated water resource management. So the fourth point is environment. So if we make any changes in the system, so it should not affect the environment. In the same way, if we make use of the water in a particular area, it should not affect the different sectors. So each and every individual should get the proper water facilities. That means taking care into the consideration of the environment, we need to go for the management processes. So first one is promote better policy, regulatory and institutional framework for sustainable environmental management. So as I have told you, there are certain set of rules and regulations which are to be followed by each and every individual, and there is the involvement of some of the organizations and institutions which are looking after these rules and regulations, so that the environment will be properly maintained. Second is work across sectors to enhance the environmental benefits of projects and programs that provide access to infrastructure. When we are speaking about the involvement of the different sectors, there are different disciplines of knowledge which are implemented in this integrated water resource management. Say for example, if we consider the infrastructural development, it should not affect the environment, where nowadays we are closing all the lakes and rivers and converting it into the built up areas. So this is naturally affecting the environment. So this should not be done in such a way that we are taking care about the infrastructure development with this integrated water resource management techniques. Third is greater attention to rights and market based instruments. So greater attention is mainly provided where the rights are equally maintained and also the market based instruments are carried out. Fourth one is attention to water resource management and climate change. So the water resource management will be carried out, or it is planned in such a manner that the climatic change is also considered, because during the summer season we won't get plenty of water. In that situation, we need to depend upon the water which is stored or which is available during the rainy season. So in this manner, the water resource management and the climate change both are taken into consideration, and then the integrated water resource management will be done so that it should not affect the environment. Fifth is inclusion of environmental flows and ecosystem management in water management, improve safeguard systems and practices. So inclusions of environmental flows and ecosystem management. So these are also considered where the different living beings are also living with us in the environment, that is ecosystem, where the water management should be meant, or it should be made in such a way that the ecosystem will also be maintained, where we need to safeguard the different systems as well as we need to adopt the different practices. Sixth is promotion of strategic environmental assessment to move upstream in the decision making cycle. So there are some of the strategies where we are looking after the environmental assessment in order to move the upstream, means the water which is stored in the upstream region, it is mainly taken into consideration when we make the decision considering the water cycle. Seventh is promoting environmentally and socially sustainable private sector development. So when we speak about the private sector involvement in this water resource management, we should think about the environment as well as the social sustainability in the particular area. Eighth is focusing on the positive linkages between poverty reduction and environmental protection. So in this mainly we focus on the positive linkages which exist between the poverty reduction as well as the environmental protection. When we are going to implement any project, it should not affect the economy as well as the environment. Ninth is focus first on local environmental benefits and build up on overlaps with broader benefits. So mainly integrated water resource management consists or it considers the environmental effects and then go for the proper techniques which are to be followed without affecting the environment. So this is how the different aspects are taken into consideration before we go for the integrated water resource management while considering the environmental sectors. So these are all some of the points which mainly tells about the benefits which are mainly getting by the environment when we go for the integrated water resource management. So these are all the 4 different sectors which are benefited by the integrated water resource management.